Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is for you. Thank you for being here. We've had some technical issues this morning, but all is well now. So I'm excited to talk to you about paste paper. So say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're from. I have Amber and Mickey ready in the chat to drop in any links you need or answer any questions. But I'm going to dive straight in to talk about paste papers. So my name is Ali from Vintage Page Designs. This is my channel. I'm glad you're here. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you hear all about our live videos. We'll have one a week now, Thursdays at noon. Back to paste papers. I'm not distracted easily. What are paste papers, folks? You need three things for paste papers. You need the paste, which is some kind of starch, which you mix with water. You need pigment, and then you need some paper. You also need some tools to make those marks in the paper. But the point about paste papers is that they require very few materials, which is kind of nice in these days where you go to the craft store, the art supply store, and you have to spend, a month's mortgage to buy art supplies. So that's one of the reasons I'm doing paste papers, is because it helps us to use up things that we already have around the house. So we've all got flour or starch in the house. We've all got paints, which are kind of probably drying out. We've all got pieces of paper, and we've all got mark making tools, and I'll show you how to create some of your own if you like too. So it's a very budget friendly way to create papers. Pattern papers that we can use for art journaling, mixed media work, bookmaking, which is what I use them for, scrapbooking, card making, and they're very neat because you can sort of create these kind of 3D designs in the papers. So they're a little different from jelly printing, for example. Are they new? No, paste papers have been around for a very long time. Paste papers have been around since the 16th century. In fact, bookbinders used to, it's my understanding that they were initially made to create cheap decorative papers, and they were also a way to use up the paste at the end of the day. So if you've ever made wheat paste, it doesn't last very long. It only lasts a couple of days before it goes stinky, even if you keep it in the fridge. So it's a good way to use up any leftover paste. So it's my understanding that that's how it kind of came about. So although it did start in the 16th century, it was made a lot more famous by a religious order called this Moravian religious order in the 18th century in Germany, in a place called Herrnhut. And they are the ones who made it quite famous. So they are still made today. Some of you may know the work of Madeline Durham. Her work is amazing. I wonder if Mickey could pop a link in the comments for us for Madeline Durham. Her artwork is amazing. And so while this isn't new, people are still doing it today and creating lots of different amazing things. What does a paste paper look like? This is an example of paste paper on the front of my book. Here's another example, striped. This is paste paper right here. Here's another example of paste paper. So I'm going to show you start to finish how I create my paste, how I add the pigment, and some of the tools that I use to create paste papers. Right, let me just see if there's any questions before I get started. Let's see. Doesn't look like it. Hi, everyone. I see people from lots of different places, Cape Cod, San Antonio. Hi, Linda. Hi, Helen. Hi, Martin. It's nice to see you all. Thank you for being here. All right, what do we need? So first of all, we need paste, and I'm going to show you literally live how I make my paste, because I don't want to do one of those things where, like, here's one I made earlier. I'm going to show you live how I do it. You can make your paste from many different things. So just an FYI, I wanted to be one of those YouTubers who has a lovely background. That's not actually possible when you're making paste papers because it's a mess. So let's see. You can go to the grocery store and buy corn flour or cornstarch. A friend of mine picked this up at the Asian supermarket. It was $1, and it's very fine. It's like cornstarch or corn flour. It's called corn flour in the UK, cornstarch in the US. They happen to call it wheat starch. You could use this to make your paste, and I'll show you. I'm going to show you how I mix it with water and get the lumps out. That could be used super cheap. This is what I'll be using today. This is Bookbinder's wheat paste from Talus. And we do have a link to this one, I believe, but the brand doesn't matter. It's just wheat paste. This is referred to as pre-cooked wheat paste. So if it's pre-cooked, you can add cold water. That's what we'll do today. I don't have access to a double boiler or anything in my studio, so I have to use cold water. So I'll show you how I do that. So that is my preferred method, is bookbinding wheat paste. You can also use methyl cellulose. I don't want to get out the bag, it's going to go everywhere. Methyl cellulose. You can buy this from bookbinding supply places. This is from a candle place. I found this on Amazon. I found a pound of it for candle making. And this is how I learned to make wheat paste. And methyl cellulose is unique in the fact that it doesn't go off. So you can make a huge batch of this and it'll last you weeks and weeks and weeks. And you don't even need to keep it in the fridge. So that's why some people like methyl cellulose. It's not my favorite because I don't like the consistency. And then this is the one that Madeline Durham uses, is the Jinshofu wheat paste. It's a little more expensive than the 301 wheat paste. I think it feels a little bit finer. When I rub it between my fingers, this feels a little more silky, so more like cornstarch. But either way, you'll get good results. So whatever you use, you'll get good results, I promise. So that's all about the wheat paste, about the starch. Some people like to add glycerin to theirs, and I'll add a couple drops. I found this at my local chemist or CVS in the hair care section. Again, I'm sure you can get it on Amazon, but if you don't want to go to Amazon, Whole Foods, health food stores, but I got this in the shampoo section. So a couple drops of glycerin, and it gives it a nice sheen. So I don't know if you can see this. See, it's got like a nice sheen to it. That's got glycerin in it. So, and then pigments. We are going to add pigment. Let me grab my big thing of paint. You're going to need to, once we've made up the paste, which will be kind of opaque color, you're going to need to add pigment of some kind. Most people use acrylic paint. So you can use the cheap and cheerful ones from the craft store. Just keep in mind, these ones have less pigment, so you'll use more paint. But if you've got a whole bunch to use up, it's actually really nice rather than throwing them away and have them dry out. So these can be used, these sort of folk art type paints. You can use these acrylics, so like the Liquitex Basics. I think I've got some Dick Blick ones. I know these are like Liquitex, but these heavy bodied acrylics, and they're not super expensive. So you can use these to mix them in. And you can also go, fancier. You can use golden. You don't have to use opens. I just happen to have these. You can use golden acrylics or Liquitex, whichever kind you have. You'll use a lot less. But I encourage you to use what's in your closet. Don't go out and buy paint. You've all got paint. I know you have paint. But if you have these, you'll just need a smaller amount. And also you can use the fluid acrylics too. I have not used watercolors. I think that'd be kind of a waste of money to put, because you would need a lot of watercolor. I've not used watercolors. I'm sure you could. It would just be very transparent. And I've not used acrylic inks. Again, you might be able to use acrylic inks, but I think you would use up a lot to get the rich color, and that would, I think, might be kind of wasteful. So if possible, I would stick with these. I've known some people that use food coloring, so who knows. And then paper. We are going to, first of all, you're going to just look through your stash. Don't go buy paper. I use a drawing paper, like an 80-pound drawing paper, or I use mixed media paper like this, or I may go a little thinner and use like a Mohawk Superfine, but you don't want to use probably copier paper because it's not going to hold up to the water and the paste that we put on it. You want something like semi-robust, but you do want a smooth surface. So any textured handmade papers, watercolor papers, it will definitely take the paste, but the patterns will be affected by the texture of the paper. So if you like that look, that's fine, but I always go with just a smooth paper. So a drawing paper, a heavy sketch paper, mixed media paper. You could use a printmaking paper, but what I would say is that this is like jelly printing. You'll make a ton of them. So, you know, you'll make dozens and dozens of pieces of paper because it's sort of addictive. So you don't particularly want to use your really spendy paper. Unless you're doing a very special project, of course. All right, and then I'm going to flip the camera down and show you some of the tools we'll be using, and then I'll start mixing up my paste. Let's see if there's any questions. Alcohol ink, says Jeanette. I have never used alcohol ink, so watch your space. Tell me if you can. I would love to know. Let me see. Okay, let's add. So I might just show you a couple of examples. Add to stream. Hold on. We just have to. So I hate to tell you this, but we're going to have this small little box in the corner because I had a few technical issues today with my audio. So we have to have this small box in the corner. So I apologize. But hopefully you can see enough of my table. I just want to show you some examples of the paste papers I've made in the past. Get rid of my bracelet. And how you might use them. This is in bookmaking. I use them mostly for book covers. Or you can use them as signature wrappers. So just partially cover a signature. Here's some examples. So yeah, they have a kind of 3D effect. This one today, I can show you how to make this type of pattern today. This one is super simple, but I really like this. Honestly, is one of my favorite types to make. Let me give you another couple examples. This one here has a lot of, I do mostly monochromatic, but you can blend your colors. So this has a nice look to it. And this one here, this is just a single piece of paper. Single piece of paper that was folded into a book. It's got this kind of 3D pattern. So I'm going to show you how to make some of these today. Let us make up our paste. Now, this is going to give me dirty fingers, which is going to drive me crazy. But still, I'll just have to, I'll just have to live with it. Some things that you might want to put on your desk to keep it clean. I put a piece of plexiglass down just to protect my table. But you could do it on a plastic table or some other slick surface. I just like to do that. You are going to need some water. So you'll need a spray bottle of water, or you could use a damp sponge. That will be fine. You need something to mix up your paste. So I'm using this old plastic tub that had mushrooms in it. You will need a fork or a whisk, something to mix up that paste. I have some water. Oops, you can see this. It says distilled, but it's actually from the tap. So, and then you're going to need some old pots, like these yogurt pots. Large or small, just so this is really good for recycling. So have some pots ready to put your paste in, because we're going to make up a big batch of paste and then portion it out so we can do different colors. And I'm going to be straining mine to get the lumps out, so I'm going to use an old pair of tights. So, because God forbid I'd actually wear these. I mean, who wears these anymore? But these are tights or pantyhose, or I guess you could use stockings or pop socks. But this is like a fine mesh that we're going to use to get the lumps out of the paste paper. You could probably use cheesecloth as well, but I happen to have these lying around. I think I went to a wedding like 4 years ago, and this was the second pair in the pack. What else do we need? We'll need something to wipe your hands, so some either baby wipes or damp rag is useful to have on hand, and also, a few paper towels just to wipe off your tools. So let us make up our paste, and then I'll show you the texture tools. Which paste was I going to use? This one, right? I was going to use the 301 paste. So I'm just going to check the comments, if there's any questions. Is there a way to moisture proof the paste papers. You can add matte medium to the top of your paste papers once they're done, so that you protect the surface. That's a great question. You can see me looking everywhere. Okay, I'm going to use this 1/4 cup measure, I think. Actually, maybe I'll use something else. Let's walk around my studio and find it. Here we go. So instead, I might just use this little cup, because I think it's less than a 1/4 cup. So I'm going to do 1 part paste, 1 part of the powder, and I'm going to mix in 3 parts water. Now, if I were at home, I would put this on a double boiler. So you know how you melt chocolate? You have a pan of water, and then you have like a ceramic or Pyrex dish, and you melt the chocolate in it. If I was at home, I might use a double boiler so that I didn't have to use my tights and get messy fingers, because that's a problem for me. If I was using a double boiler, I would do 4 parts water, because some of the moisture comes off when it gets heated. But if you're doing this with cold water, which is what the package suggests, I do 3 parts. 1, 2. You can see this isn't rocket science, I mean, just approximately. And it's going to get lumpy. I might go in with this paintbrush and mix it up. Take a few minutes to mix it up, but it will be, I mean, it has lumps in it. It just does. That's just kind of the nature of it. Like I say, if you don't want the lumps, you could do it with a double boiler. So get in all the corners. And you might want to use a Pyrex dish for this. Just make sure that you only use that then for, you don't use it for food. Although I think this is probably edible, but sorry about the noise. So you could keep going and going and going if you had the patience, and try and get out as many of these lumps as you could with the whisk. But, you know, patience is not exactly my strong suit, I got to tell you. So I am going to just put it straight in here. Let's go try and find a cleaner one. There we go. Let's get rid of the water so we don't spill water. That would be good. Gonna get these lovely pantyhose. Gonna cut off. Not sure I can use this piece. Looks a bit thick, doesn't it? Bye bye. Let me just check. Make sure Mickey can still hear me. So we have Amber and Mickey here today, helping me out. Could tie a knot on the end. That would help, wouldn't it? So tie a knot on the end. So it would be better if you used the foot, but I only had a piece of the leg left. So this is just your pantyhose, the knot's in the bottom. And I'm going to, I got to put a glove on. I just can't bear it. Bear the thought of getting this on my hands. It's just too much. Okay, just scoop this in. And get the lumps out. Oh, here we go. Look, can you see? Isn't that gross? I'm sure kids would love this project. I'm not sure you can see it. See, it's all coming out. It's just disgusting. But it's going to make really cute papers. Sorry, it's above and you can't see it very well. It's all just coming out and the lumps are staying behind. See in there? There's my paste. Hold on, let's bring the light a bit closer so you can see it maybe a bit better. There we go. I think you can see that, hopefully. All right, get rid of this glove. Oh. So here we have some paste. I've only got a little bit of paste in there because otherwise I don't want to waste it. So I made a batch earlier of where's the other piece? Oh, I made this batch earlier with Payne's Grey. And now I'm going to use quinacridone magenta with this one, which looks rather fun. I'm going to pop a dollop in. So you can tell this is not a science. I mean, this is an art, not a science. So I'm going to put some in, test it on a piece of paper, and then if I want to add more paint, I will. If I want a richer color, I will. Let's just do it anyway, shall we? So if it's a little hard for you to see in there, it's a deep pot. I don't think I have a shallow one. Well, I could use this one. Maybe you could look, maybe you could see in here. It's probably easier for you to see. There we go. Oh, guess what the other thing is that you need? An apron. Because it gets very messy. Okay, so now I've got the pink and the magenta and the Payne's Grey. Let me see if there's any questions while I put my thingy on. Yay, Quebec. That's a good point, Diana Ryman. Diana says it's probably because you've got acrylic paint in the mixture, it probably already moisture proof. Yes. Okay. All right. So let's think about tools. The tools are going to be slightly different from the ones that you use for jelly printing, but some will be the same. So let's put aside our lovely little paints. Bye-bye quinacridone. Let's look at my tool basket. Here are some tools that you can use. I'm going to show you how to create this little credit card tool a little bit. You can buy these catalyst tools, but you know, that's not really that much fun. If you've got one of these old shower squeegees, you can cut notches into it. Things like toilet paper tubes, other tubes are fun. I really like using these lids. I'll show you how I create circular patterns. Sponges are good for creating texture. This is one of my favorites. It's a comb that you'll find at lots of dollar stores. And then really anything, this actually is also one of my favorites. This is a pair of chopsticks. And this tool is how I created this book here. This was these chopsticks. So, I mean, just really anything you can find around your house has potential for a tool. Pretty similar to jelly printing, just a little different. I don't even know where this came from, but you know, it's been in my stash for years. That works pretty good. A regular fork. These kind of sticks for making marks. So I think you get the idea. It's from laundry detergent. So you get the idea. Look around your house, you're going to find tools. So I've lost my credit card tool now. Oh, I left the credit card tools out. Let me just grab a couple of tools I think we'll use and let's get started. I'm going to work with this Dick Blick drawing paper. One of the main reasons is it fits pretty much on the camera. I could use the Canson. I bought this yesterday, but it doesn't quite fit on the camera. Okay, all right. So we need to wet this paper. Let me make sure I'm on screen so you can see okay. We need to wet this paper. Let me take my ring off. You could wet it with a damp sponge. Personally, I like to use a spray bottle. A little bit on each side. Then it won't curl. Spread that water around. And you want to put a fairly generous layer of paste on here. So you may get some air bubbles. You can just lift that up. You can use, I like to use a sponge brush, but you could use a fancier brush if you wanted to. Just, I can't be trusted with fancy brushes. And you want to put a fairly thick layer down. You don't want to go too thin because we're going to scrape into it Oh, I forgot my glycerin. I'll do that in a minute. We're going to scrape into it to get the patterns. So we want it fairly thick. Just want to lift up to get rid of those air bubbles. Now you may be asking yourself, well, why can't I just do this with acrylic paint? Well, the reason is the paste gives it body so that we can create these textures inside of it, but also the drying time. This will not dry for ages. So let's get these chopsticks. I got these free at an airport. Let's just do these lines. Let's do the other end. We'll make thinner lines. So you see I'm pulling away the paint. I'm going to wipe it off on my paper towel. And then do it some more until I like what I see. But let's say I'm like, I don't really like that. That's kind of boring. What can I do? I can just paint all the way over it. Be like, yep, sorry, don't like you. Let's paint over. And I can do something completely different. Get rid of some of those brush marks. Maybe I think, okay, I want something a little more controlled. So I can go in with my chopsticks and make some cute waves. I'm liking that better, I think. And then each time I just wipe off the excess paste like that, because we're removing paste. So I'm kind of liking that one. So I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to leave that one be. Super simple, plain paper, but will look probably really good on the front of a book. Another thing that you are going to need if you make paste papers is some space to let them dry, because they take up quite a bit of space. So just like jelly printing, you need some space. So you can use the floor, you can use a tabletop, you could use a drying rack, you know, for clothes, or if you're lucky enough to have one for printmaking, that would be great. So I mentioned I forgot the glycerin. So I'm just going to put, like, that was about 4 drops. A bit of glycerin in there, and it just gives it a little bit of a sheen, which I like. How about this time we do 2 colors? Just check my private messages. Make sure I'm not muted. Question, can you use cornstarch? Yes, you can use cornstarch. Absolutely. I haven't done it, but you can. I know you can. So for recipes on how so paste papers are a bit like apple pie. Everyone's got their own recipe. You know what I mean? Like everyone's got their own way of doing things. So, and everyone's got their own recipe for paste papers. So I would do an internet search if you're unsure, if you don't want to use my method, and there are a bajillion different ways that people make their own paste for paste paper. Okay, so I like that mix of colors. And now let's do, should we use this guy? This is the detergent bottle. I'm going to press it down and twist to one side. Oh, I like that. Twist. Oh, maybe I'll overlap them. Oh, I like that. Twist. I'm twisting it on maybe 1/4 inch. That looks kind of fun. Oh, look at that. If I do it more, that looks really 3-dimensional. If I do about 1/2 inch, that looks pretty cool. So do you see how you would wind up making like freaking hundreds of these things? Because like you'll be like, oh, I like this. Oh no, I like this. I'm going to try this. So make sure you kind of go off the paper so that the pattern, you don't just want sort of, you don't want to, well, if you want a geometric pattern, that's fine, a grid. But if you want a more organic pattern, just make sure you go off the edge. Oh, I like that one. I'm not going to muck around with it. I'm going to leave it just like that. Won't that look cute on a book cover or in some mixed media work? All right, let's put this one down. So another thing that you can do is layer up patterns. So let me show you an example of where I have layered up patterns. Like I think here, I think this one here is 2 patterns layered. So is this one here. So you do one set of patterns and then you go in the opposite direction with another tool. So let me show you how to layer up patterns. That's sort of fun. I feel like I want to use the mixed media paper now. So, this mixed media paper is quite big. It's 11 by 14, so I'm going to cut it in half. Let's see how I'm doing for time. Pretty good. Let's check your questions, see if there are any. Laura says, can you use a stencil? That's a really good question. I don't know. I think possibly not. I think this is too goopy for a stencil, but I task you with finding out if you can. So you may want to make sure that your there's no extra paint on your surface. Otherwise, if you don't want to have magenta. I have never used stencils, so I would like to know, please. What other questions are there? It is really addictive, honestly. If you add glycerin, how much? To that big batch, I would add a teaspoon. So that batch I did, which was the little red cups, which is about just less than a quarter cup. Oops, hello. Just a teaspoon, honestly, not a ton. It's a kind of thing that's going to last you forever. The glycerin will outlive you, kind of thing. Let's add in a little bit of the Payne's Grey. I'm not sure what life is without green gold and Payne's Grey. All right, we're going to layer up some. Let's find another tool. How about we do... let's think, I don't know. Should we do circles again? I'm kind of obsessed with the circles, actually. Let's not have them overlap, though. And then over the top, I could add the comb. So I could do straight lines like that. Or I could go in both directions. Create like a basket weave. So or we could do it the other way around. I could do the basket weave first and then the circles over the top. Like that. Like the world's your oyster. So think about layering up different sort of thick lines, thin lines, circles, straight lines. Think about layering up different patterns. So I'm laying these out to dry. One of the famous patterns is, I forget what it's called. It's where you squish two pieces together. Pulled, that's the word. Squish and pulled. So let's put some water. Oh, good job we're sticking with these two colors. So I've got a large piece now. I'm going to kind of fold it in half. And I'm going to put paste on both sides, and then I'm going to squish them together, and that's going to give us like a pulled print almost. I think I put a bit too much water on there. Never mind. See how forgiving this is, though? Like, this is a fun kids project. It's a funny rainy day project. It's good to do out in the garage if you had one, which I don't, but if I did, because it is pretty messy. Definitely an apron. So here we are. And then just fold them over. We get that pulled print, and that is that was done a lot in those 16th, 17th, 18th century books. You'll see a lot of these pulled prints that look like this. So if you go to if you look on sort of library archives and things, or you look for paste papers, you'll see quite a few which look like this. These kind of pulled prints. Here's a piece. I just found this tiny piece the other day of one that's dried. It looks like an animal skin. You know what I mean? So that's super simple, but I really like the way that looks. We could put other patterns on top if we wanted to, but I don't want to. I like it like that. Why don't we take a look at a credit card now? Oops. Hello. Oh, I had notes. I have notes here. I haven't even looked at the notes. Hopefully we're getting through everything. So credit cards are fabulous to do different things with. Yeah, I do encourage you to wipe off your area if you don't want your colors being mixed up. Let's just do a plain pink. I feel like it could be a little richer, this pink. I feel like it could use a little more pigment, but that's okay. Okay, so there's a nice, let's do a little more. I'm being really generous with this, not skimping at all. So there's lots of things that you can do with a credit card. So, you know, whatever, what kind of gift cards, we all have tons of them. You can do like a ribbon effect, like this, go back and forth and do an S shape. Just need some paper towels. Wipe that off. That was the same one. Let me see. Do I have an example for you on a book? Nope, can't see one. But there's like a ribbon effect, which I kind of like. But let's pretend I don't like it. I'm like, go away. Don't like that one. Let's try something else with a credit card. You could do, well, you can kind of see it underneath. That's kind of neat. I like that. What other things could you do with a credit card? Oops, wrong one. You can just do lines like this. Be careful not to hurt your, damage your paper. You could do some eccentric writing with it. And of course, you can do a semi-write with anything, really. But I actually really kind of like that, come to think of it. Actually, I don't want to cover this one up. I really like it. I love that pattern. There you go. That was an impromptu one, but I really kind of like that, so I'm not going to change it. Let's see. Let me show you the way that you can create this effect. So this here is one of my favorite books. It's my circus book. If you're in the book club, this is the sewn boards book with a Tyvek spine. But these stripes here, I just really love these stripes. So let me show you how to make those. If you're more of you'd like a little more control, because goodness knows when we all like a little control in our lives. So the way we're going to do that is pen. You're going to take a hole punch. So I'm using a crocodile. This is, you're going to take a pen and mark a line along the edge of the credit card. I'm doing it at 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to mark every 1/2 inch. Like this. And then I'm going to take my crocodile and cut out half circles. So if you can see that. Just check. Does the paper crack after it dries? No, it doesn't crack. What you may find is that it's raised, like it's a little bit nubby. So if it's too raised in certain areas, you can go over it with a very light piece of sandpaper. So now I'm going to cut semicircles, or roughly semicircles. Oops. That where those marks are. And then that will create a, because I've measured. If you haven't got an old gift card like this, you could use a piece of cereal box, or a piece of cardboard. You just want to put maybe some packing tape along the edge. Let me show you. So take a piece of cardboard, add packing tape along the edge, then you can cut out notches, and you can do big ones, small ones, all sorts of ones too. All right, so now we have a little tool. So let's use it. Let's do it. We're almost coming to the end because quite honestly, I feel like you could probably all just dying to get out there and make make your own paste papers at this point. The world is your oyster. Okay, here's my, I like doing the mix of the two colours. But good question about whether it cracks. I've never had mine crack. Let's mix these two colours together. There is a good book, which we will include a link to. Let me just pop that up on the screen. While there's a good book out there by Diana. It's out of print, but you can still buy it. Just search on Amazon, or Mickey will probably pop a link in the chat for us. She has lots of great ideas, and she has several different recipes, because like I say, everyone's got their own recipe, and she puts several in there. So that's a good reference if you're the kind of person who likes a book, and I do. I like a book. So I am going to, first of all, I'm going to just do some lines in this direction with my comb, like this. Here's my paper towel. It is. Give it the extra. And I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So I'm going to just turn my piece of acrylic. And I'm going to, which one? Quite like this one. I'm just going to do these straight lines all the way down. So you can see how we've layered up the thin lines. So I've just got some air bubbles in here. The thin lines from the comb. Lift this up so we don't get too many air bubbles. With the thicker lines. Oops, hello. From the credit card tool. How cute is that? So when that dries, that'd be a really nice cover. Let me see if there's any other tools that would be fun to try. Oop. Just looking through my papers that I made earlier. Let's have a look. Let me check on your questions. Love the circle. Oh my goodness. Credit card, CC. What's a C? Kerry asked a really good question. Have I tried it on craft text or fabric? I have not. So let's try it. I mean, not right now. I don't think I've got any smooth. Do I have any smooth craft text? Should I try it? It won't work on unwashed, but it won't work on washed craft text, but let me grab some and we'll try. All right, I have to get around all sorts of things in my studio to find the piece of craft text. Here it is. Oh, here's a piece. Oh no. Here we go. Let's try this. Okay. Please excuse the noise. Here we have some. All right, let's have a look. You know what I found? A piece of canvas. This is a piece of, it's got acrylic paint on one side. Why don't we just try the canvas while we're here, because this is fabric. No, it kind of absorbs into the fabric. It's soaking into the fabric. Won't be able to, not really. I think fabric's a no-no. It's all right. Here is some unwashed craft text in white. Let's just cut a small piece off. Don't want to waste it. Okay, let's dampen it. So this is unwashed craft text. We have lots of resources. Oh, look at my hands. Whoa. We have lots of resources on my blog about craft text if you're interested. Might work. It's kind of absorbing in, but no, I think it's going to work. Oh, I'm using quite a lot. Look at that. Okay, shall we do our favorite circles? Yeah, it works. So unwashed craft text. I mean, I don't know what it's like when it dries. I suspect it'll take longer to dry, but yeah, that's unwashed craft text, a smooth craft text, and that was in white. But a color would be fun. I did pull out a piece of the washed. So this is washed Craftex, and it is, let me see, let me just take that down. It's wrinkly, so I'm guessing it won't work. It might. Let's see. Yeah, it works. Yeah, even on the washed. I had to kind of drag pretty hard. But yeah, it works even on the washed Craftex. So that would be really interesting because they have bright colors in this and muted colors. So yay, thank you. Who knew? We've learned something new today, folks. All right, let me have a look through my tools, see if there's any others that I feel like might be fun to try before we wrap things up. Oh, yes, I remember. Now I remember. See if I can find it, though, because everyone's a little bit of a mess now. Here it is. I got one. I'll do the last one. Maybe the last one. I don't know. Maybe. This is another one of my favorites. Where is it? Oh, actually, I've got two. I've got two I need to do. One's the grocery bag. So if you've seen any of my jelly printing videos, it's all about the grocery bag. Because these days, we're all about trying to save money and reuse and recycle things. So why not? If you happen to get a plastic bag because you didn't bring enough reusables, then. So you'll see, if you look at the work of Madeline Durham, her work is just stunning. She makes these like landscapes almost. Well, not almost, she does. She makes landscapes with paste paper. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Madeline Durham, her name is. And just, I think she's got a few. She doesn't teach online, I don't think, but there's a few YouTube videos which show her process. Okay. Are we back? Okay. I think we lost sound. Excellent. It's all good, folks. It's all good. We're back. I've had such issues today with sound, you can't even imagine. So we just did the grocery bag one, which I think you saw. Let me just grab it. Oh, I'm sorry if I leaned across. Here's the grocery bag paper. And I'm going to do one final paper because our sound may not be great now that my microphone battery has died. I'm going to do one last one. I'm going to check your questions. And then I'm going to let you loose on your kitchens to go find things to make paste paper with. All right, let's see. Oh, I'm going to use up the rest of this magenta because it's so delicious. Yeah, we've got to have live video. And the sound goes. All right. So you could get rid of these brush marks, but I think they're going to get covered over. So one of my favorite ways is to get a 1/2 inch brush, 1/2 inch foam brush, and just do lines like this. Whoops. Okay, that's not going to work well. Hang on. It's just do like simple lines up and down. Maybe we'll just use this foam brush instead. Just do like those simple lines up and down. Honestly, it's like my favorite way to create like a subtle but interesting cover. You could also use the tip of this, but I just really like these brush strokes, like in all these different directions. And that honestly is like my go-to pattern that I use on the different books I make. I'm trying to see if I've got an example here. Oh, here it is one. This one right here. It's just 2 shades of blue, and it just went back and forth with a brush, creating these lines. It just creates like a really simple paper for a book cover. So that is actually my favorite one, believe it or not. There's no fancy tools or anything involved. It's just a real simple, letting the colors shine. So that is it for today. Let me switch my cameras round. All right, there we go. The paper is misted, yes. Let me check on your questions. Did you switch to using paper dry rather than misted? Oh, I probably just forgot, Amy. If you saw me doing paste paper on a dry piece of paper, I probably just, my mind, I forgot. So no, I always missed it. So what other questions are there? Yes, it is recorded. If anyone wanted to, let's see, just if there's any questions. Let me, I'm just going to bring on my co-pilot, Mickey, for a second onto the screen, if she doesn't mind. And ask her if there are any questions that I missed. Hi, Mickey.
Hi, Allie. I think we got back and were able to handle. There was a question earlier, very early, about using other things to color and pigment.
Yep.
Have you ever tried mica powders or food coloring?
Oh, mica. No, I haven't. I know I've tried neither, but I've heard food coloring works from other people. But I know I've never tried. I tell you what I have done is sprinkled mica powder on top, but I've never mixed it in my paste. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah. So I don't know, but whoever asked, let us know. We want to know.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be a very interesting result. That would be fun.
Or the book.
And could you just talk a little bit about the difference between cornstarch and wheat paste?
Oh, yeah. So cornstarch is it's just what you buy from the grocery store.
Right.
I don't exactly know how they make it, but the wheat paste that you buy in the packages like this is especially made for book binding, so that it's archival and everything. But not everyone has access to this. Not everyone wants to pay shipping for this. So this is sort of, I don't exactly know what's in it. It's a pre-cooked starch-based adhesive. So, I mean, I'm not sure what the chemical components are, but this has been processed in some way such that it can be made up cold. Whereas, the cornstarch is literally off the shelf from the grocery store.
Okay, so they're interchangeable, but yes. Cornstarch is not archival.
Yes.
Gotcha.
But I don't care about archive. I don't worry. My book's not going to be in the Library of Congress.
No. And I think we circled back and got to most of the other questions.
Good. Excellent. B said, could you add textures like fine sand? I don't know if it would stay, B. So, yeah, I guess you could sprinkle in sand. I just don't know whether the paste would hold it, would be strong enough adhesive to hold the sand in place. But you could try. Like, we can try anything we like, people. Oh, yeah, Barbie says, does wallpaper paste work? Should I take you out now, Mickey? I'll do that. Yes, wallpaper paste does work. I actually tried to get hold of some yesterday and I couldn't because you can't buy things in stores at the moment. But yes, I have a friend who uses wallpaper paste. I tried it. I tried pre-made wallpaper paste and I found it too runny. So I know a friend of mine uses powdered wallpaper paste and then mixes it up to the consistency that she likes. The consistency of mine, honestly, is like yogurt or yogurt. Kind of thick, like Greek yogurt kind of thickness. But I would try the powdered wallpaper paste, but that definitely works. Good question. Rodents will attack everything but methyl cellulose, says Ruth. Yep, if you have rodents, in your house, I'm sure they'll go after it. But hopefully they'll go after other stuff first. No, not PVA, no. Isn't it the same stuff you use on wallpaper? Yes, Georgia, yeah. Wallpaper paste. There's a shortage of wheat paste at the moment. Well, there we go. We'll all be using cornstarch then. Yeah, I haven't bought any recently. It's the kind of thing that like lasts you a lifetime once you've got one. So all right. A couple of people asked about the book. Let me just pop the name on the bottom there. It's out of print, but you can still get it. And perhaps if enough of us buy it, it'll come back into be reprinted again. But this is it's got loads of different ideas. What I gave you today is just like a little window inside paste papers. So yeah, definitely check out her book. It's wonderful, and just do a Google search and find lots of other ideas. But really look in your own house and you're going to find ideas, because I think you'll have plenty of ideas, where you are, up here. All right, I think we're going to wrap this up. So next week we'll be here Thursday at noon EDT. So I'm in Massachusetts, so I'm on the East Coast, so it's East Coast time. We're still got daylight savings, I believe. So I'll be here at noon Thursday. Hit the subscribe button so that you're notified when I'm going live, because I don't expect you to always remember every week. So hitting that subscribe and then the little bell notification will make sure that it kind of pops up. It gives you like a few hours notice, I think, and 1 day's notice. And then next week I will be here and I will show you some things that I did with these paste papers. And I'm going to be talking about thread. So I get a lot of questions about thread, what thread to use for bookmaking, what is and isn't okay. So I will be talking about thread next week, and I will sew a couple of books with my paste paper to sort of illustrate thread. So thank you, my friends. Thank you for being here. If you're watching the replay, thank you for watching the replay, and we will catch you next week. Take care, everyone.